listeners. Well, today is another edition of Alternative History with me, Professor Daliwolf. Well, I've been doing some thinking, and you know, when I do that, it's pretty dangerous. I've been thinking about the upcoming 2012 thing. You know, a lot of people think something big is going to happen in 2012. It may or it may not. I don't know. But I do believe that over the course of time, things have happened to humanity that have taken us back to the Stone Age. See, I believe that humans have been on this earth a long time. I mean, a long time, like millions of years, okay? And I know that that kind of goes against what science says about humanity, but I don't think that science has enough of the picture to be making any claim about the origins of mankind. They have little tiny bits and pieces, and they've created this huge, elaborate story about the history of humanity based off all these little tiny pieces of evidence that really, it's a stretch to put these things together. So why can't I make up my own version of history? So here's mine. Over the course of time, humans have reached an elevated, technically dependent society, just like the one that we're in right now. Right now, if you think about it, we are dependent upon electricity, we are dependent upon gasoline for our means of transportation, we're dependent upon satellites, we're dependent upon just all kinds of things that if they stopped working, we'd get thrown back into the Stone Age. I mean, do you know how to smelt iron? I don't know how to smelt iron. I think I could figure it out, but you know, if there was some sort of cataclysmic event, okay, what would happen? So let's say there's a society, it's been taken to, you know, the same technically advanced society that we're in right now. There's this cataclysmic event, they're taken back into the Stone Age, let's say crustal displacement, polar shift and crustal displacement brought on by either a comet hitting the planet or some other kind of event, okay? Well, the crustal displacement in and of itself would cause probably a third of the planet to die. And then another third to die later on from lack of medicine, from inclement weather that they're not used to, from lack of food, disease, blah, 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 okay? So you've got a third of the planet still alive after 25, 30 years. What would these people do? I mean, they'd be spread out all over the planet. There'd be no means of communication, no means of creating the goods and services to do the things that we need to do to get us back to the technically advanced state that we're in right now. So basically, they'd have to start over. They'd have to start over. It would throw them way back into the Stone Age, and they would have to start doing what the Stone Age people did. You know, making stone tools. They probably would at first use up the tools that were still available, that they still could get their hands on. You know, now all the major cities of the world would probably have burned down to the ground. There'd be all kinds of, you know, volcanoes, earthquakes, super tsunamis, not to mention nuclear power plants going bad and causing, you know, problems. But, you know, there'd be all these kinds of crazy events. So people would have to move and congregate into places that were safe. And they would start tribing. You know, they'd become tribes, just like they were 26,000 years ago. They would use up the tools that were still available, so there would be some iron working involved. I mean, when I look back at some of the ancient monuments that we still have on the planet, you know, like Stonehenge is a good example. You know, it could be that that was created using leftover tools, you know. I mean, a lot of the marks that would make it obvious that something was made with a metal tool over the course of time would have rotted away. But they could have used the old tools to create monuments, and those monuments might be something that tribal leaders like rallied the people around, you know, in an effort to say, hey, look it, we're still alive, we're still here, and in celebration of that, we're going to build this monolith, you know. Because humanity is tenacious. I mean, we are hard to kill. I mean, we're soft, and we're susceptible to disease and climate change and stuff like that. But we have a spirit that no other animal on this planet has. You know, this tenacious desire to stay alive. And you know, so I look at those big megaliths like that, and I wonder to myself, are those left over from, you know, the people who made it through the event, you know? And then I look at things like all the flood myths and stuff like that. Every culture has one. And, you know, all those things could be leftover memories of actual events that occurred. I mean, things even like mythology and the gods might be leftover memories of actual events and actual people. You don't know. I was thinking about all this because I was thinking about solstice, okay? And I was thinking about the way that my ancestors celebrated the solstice, the winter solstice, and what it meant to them. And, you know, I celebrate the solstice along with Christmas. And the reason I do it is more, I mean, I'm not your traditional pagan, and I'm not your traditional Christian. But the way that I celebrate solstice is I like to honor my ancestors. You know, my ancestors who celebrated the fact that the longest day of the year, you know, the longest night of the year was finally over with. I mean, they were able to follow the sun in the sky and realize that the days were getting, you know, the amount of light was getting shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter per day until it reached a certain point, and then it started getting longer and longer and longer and longer again. And when the ancients realized this and saw that the days were getting longer again, they knew that there was hope. There was hope for a better climate coming. There was hope that the cycle of life would continue, and they celebrated this on solstice. I mean, they also, some of them believed that if they didn't celebrate it in a certain way, that the sun wouldn't come back and the nights would continue to be long. But I think a lot of them figured out that even if they didn't, the sun would come back, that it was cyclical, but they continued the tradition because it is a beautiful tradition if you think about it. I mean, the cycle of life on this planet is so precious and so meaningful that I think we all should still be celebrating it, you know? So I do. I'll be out on solstice on December 21st early in the morning, either down at the lake or at my friend's house at their pond, with musical instruments so that I can wake up the sun. And then go out for breakfast. And that's how we celebrate solstice. But anyways, okay, I've rambled on long enough, blah blah blah. The incredible mind of Dolly has spoken! So, well, you guys have a great day.